So First Warning MMA Report is joined live by Sport athlete Mike Biggie Rhodes. Mike is a longtime veteran in the UFC, Bellator. Mike, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Been waiting to get on the show, and now we're here.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. A lot of people actually don't know this. The first time I ever met you was at the Hard Rock Hotel in Chicago. You were making your UFC debut. You were cutting a lot of weight for that fight, and you actually held up some signs for my goddaughter that was fighting childhood cancer. So, you've always been a favorite of mine, and I really appreciate you doing all that.
Yeah, man. Of course. Obviously, cutting the weight was terrible at that point, but I felt like that was bigger than what I was going through at that point in time. And, if I could have helped in any way, I felt like I should have. Recently, like 3 years ago, my niece actually went and passed away from breast cancer. So, it's like so many people did stuff for me during that time. I'm happy that I was able to do something, at that point in time for you guys and the family and her as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. We really appreciated it. Something that she enjoyed as well. So that was an awesome experience for sure. So you've been competing in mixed martial arts for a long time. What still drives you to compete today?
Honestly, just fighting, man. Competition. I've always been someone who's thrived at competition because it's a way to prove that, I'm better. At the end of the day, fighting is something we've done our entire history as human beings. We've always fought, and we've always kind of seen who was, the toughest or the baddest in society through fighting. So now that I get to fight as a professional and I get to test myself against people from all different walks of life, to me, it's just nothing better than getting in there and, figuring out who's better and having a good rule set to do it. And so for me, man, it's just fighting, competition. I love to fight. I love to compete, and that's what drives me.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned the weight cut earlier. We've seen you at welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight. And I think in the beginning of the career, you fought a couple times at heavyweight, right?
Yeah, I fought at every weight class. I fought every weight class on the way down from heavyweight, and now it seems like I'm fighting at every weight class on the way back up. But no, yeah, I started out as a heavyweight, coming from basketball, just trying to get in some shape. And once I found martial arts, I just kind of, my weight just kept going down and down and down. It wasn't even something I was trying to do. It was just something that happened through training. And now that as I'm getting a little bit older, the weight's coming on. It's a little bit harder to get it off sometimes. So now I just kind of fight where I feel like my body will allow me to at that time. So if I feel like, hey, I got a little too big, then, we're looking at 205 for fights. If my body, worked with me and I was able to stay smaller, then I'll fight at a lower weight. But, right now it's all about competing, man. And I can compete more at a certain weight class and I'll stay there and just fight more and compete more.
Sure. So it sounds like, you feel most comfortable between 185 and 205. Are you one of those guys that's lobbying for the 195 weight class? Is that something you'd like to see?
I think that 195 would be perfect. Am I lobbying for it? No. It's just one of those things where I'm not going to complain or waste energy on something that might not ever be,
Right.
So if it becomes a weight class, for sure, throw me in there, count me in. I'm down for all the scraps. But if not, then I'll just keep being a professional and making whatever weight class I sign on the contract for. If it's 185, then I'll make 185. If it's 205, then I'll make 205. I just try to be a professional and try to make that weight that I signed on a dotted line for it. It's not always easy. It's not always convenient, but I've been able to do it thus far in my career. And I hope, God willing, I continue to make it and continue to be a professional like I know I can be.
Sure. So we know you're obviously training at Sport and you're coaching at Pettis MMA, if my understanding is correct. Tell us a little before you got to Sport. There's where the name Team Rock Biggie came from and how you kind of started out in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, my first gym is called Rock, ROC. That's Russell Cano. He owned the gym that I started training at in the beginning. And so I trained there for about a year and a half before I came up here to visit Sport. I think I have 3 or 4 fights underneath that banner before I moved here to Wisconsin to train fully. Russell Connell was one of the coaches, but the main coach for me was Jason Chambers. And I had a nickname. They used to call me the Rhino. It was terrible. I'm glad it didn't stick. My buddy Jason was like, I'm calling you Biggie. You're Biggie to me. And so Biggie just kind of stuck. And then when I started making social media, our team was called Team Rock, Team ROC. So then
Sure.
I was just like, all right, Team Rock Biggie. You know what I mean? And then it became like its own little phenomenon, like people know me more so from like social media. They'll call me like Team Rock Biggie in public. And I'm like, my name's Mike, or you can call me Biggie, but you ain't gotta call me my
Right.
entire social media name. But yeah, it just kind of took a mind of his own, and when those things happen, you just gotta run with it in sports. If it sticks, it sticks. So I'm
Yeah.
happy about it.
Awesome. So your last fight was in LFA at Mystic Lake Casino. Obviously you've competed in ACB, Bellator, the UFC. You're the former RFA welterweight champ. Do you feel like you're deserving of a title shot at either 185 or 205 for LFA, seeing that you were the previous champ before they merged?
No. I don't think that people should go around saying that they deserve anything. I I have fought in all those divisions, within those organizations. If they feel like they want to give me a title shot, then I'll take it. For a while there, my teammate Brendan Allen was the champion at 185 for the LFA, so there was no point in me to fight for that or even go after that. With
Right.
my teammate holding it 205. I was offered their title, had a fight scheduled for that. Fight fell through. So then we just moved on from it. Honestly, title fights in these smaller organizations, don't get me wrong, I'm fighting for one right now. But if they're not going to get you to the next level right away, they're detrimental sometimes, because you're fighting 5 rounds, but you're not getting paid the same amount of money like they do in the UFC. So 5 rounds, those are 2 extra rounds that you could have in another fight. It's a lot of
Sure.
wear and tear on your body. So the idea of title fights does not always seem like that great in the bigger picture as far as it goes for me. For other people, I know people are, asking for them, dying for them. That's all well and good for them. But until I feel like the championship means going to a bigger show, you know, if it is a title fight or not, it really doesn't matter to me. The
Sure.
CFFC title fight is great because it's technically 4 rounds. If you win 3 of the 4, if you win the majority of the fight after 4 rounds, then you're the champion. If it's tied, then you go to a 5th round, um, which is a cool little niche to, push you to obviously want to
Sure.
win all 4 rounds, so you don't have to go that 5th round. So in the long game,
Right.
I fought 25 minutes against Alan Jaban. Trust me, 5-minute rounds in a cage with anybody is no joke. So I'll stick to these 3-round fights
Right.
unless I can get paid a lot more.
Makes a lot of sense. Mixed martial arts has obviously provided you some really amazing opportunities. You fought, former world champion in Robert Whitaker, Rafael Lovato Jr. You faced off with Eric Silva. You've been, all over the world in Europe, Brazil, New Zealand. What do you take from those experiences, and what will you always remember from those times?
Honestly, the experience itself has been great for me, man. I'm a kid from the middle of the map. I'm from Waterloo, Iowa. I'm surrounded by cornfields, born and raised. I had never been on a plane before I took my first fight in Colorado for the RFA at the time. I never had ideas of traveling out of my state. I really, I had probably been to some of the bordering states, but for me, I I never seen anybody go on a vacation or travel to another country that I knew, personally. So especially not someone who looked like me. So those experiences have
Right.
been uh, world and eye opening for me. Getting to see other countries, see other people's way of living and life. While getting to fight. Getting to compete. Which made those things possible. So I'm forever grateful for fighting. It showed me a whole other side of the world, that is out there and that I can experience if I want to. And so it's something that gave me the experience to go back and tell my mom, tell my sisters, tell my nieces and nephews, like, hey, like you got to travel the world. There's more than Waterloo, Iowa. There's more than the states. There's other beautiful places out there.
Right.
And for me, man, I never thought I would have got to see them, but I'm just happy that those fights were able to get me there and take me to those places, and I got to experience those different cultures and different places.
That's awesome. So you have a big fight, like you said, title fight for CFFC 80 against Najim Wali. How did that fight opportunity get presented to you, and what do you know about him as an opponent?
Honestly, it just kind of came out of nowhere. I was training. Uh, I train all the time. It's not something like I take a lot of time off from training. It's my life. I love to train. So I was just training. Next, I get a phone call. They're like, "Hey, uh, do you want to fight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to fight." And I was talking to my roommate who was actually on the card at the time, JP, St. Louis. He's from that area, originally from Maryland, but he lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia before he moved here to Rufus-Sport, but he was on the card. And so I messaged the fight promoter like, "Hey, you already got my roommate. You might as well fly me out. Like, let me throw down. Like, give me anybody. I'm willing to fight." And then they went back and forth with some names, and they just came to me with the final name, and they said, "Hey, what about this guy?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't even look him up. I don't really care. It's not something that I need to do for the most part. So I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And then they were like, "Hey, it's for the 205 title." I'm like, "Great." They're like, UFC Fight Pass main event. I'm like, even better. And yeah, I got the opportunity.
It's a great opportunity. You just kind of briefly touched on it now. Are you a fighter that studies like a lot of game film, a lot of tape on your opponent, or you just kind of let your skills in the cage do the talking for you?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes like when I get the name, obviously I'll just like normally type it in, look up their record on Tapology and like see what they're about. And then I'll probably look up like one video, maybe two at the max, and I'll watch it once or twice, and then I'm done with it. At that point, it's I've already familiarized myself with the face. I see the shape, I see the body, I see the form, and for me at that point, it's about getting better and doing and planning on doing what I want to do to them, not what I think they can possibly do to me. Because when I train at my highest level and I fight and perform at my highest level, there's not much these people can do to me, period. So for me, it's all about me, getting
Right.
myself into shape, getting myself down to weight, getting my skill set sharpened, and getting ready to go do what I want to do to them.
Sure. So obviously you're not going to look past this weekend. But what does the future hold for you? Is the goal to get back to the UFC, or are you open to competing for PFL, Bellator, ONE FC? Where do you see your career path going after this weekend?
Oh yeah, definitely not looking past him. I'm hoping for and wishing for a war, a battle. I want to be tested. I want to fight. You know what I mean? Like um I don't want anything given to me. I want to take it all. You know what I mean? I want to take everything. So whether it's a quick finish or a long fight, I'm ready for it all, and I'm prepared to go wherever the fight needs to go. But once I get my hand raised, because I believe I will, um, it's wherever, man. I do have a second fight on my contract for CFFC, so where I can defend my title, or go collect another one. Might go down to 85 and see if that guy wants to fight. But other than that, the UFC is great, but I want to go where I can be paid. So if it's UFC, if it's PFL, if it's Bellator, if it's ONE FC, if it's Brave, if it's any of these companies or organizations out there that can pay me, call me up. Risen, I'm down to scrap. You know what I mean? And like I've already competed against some of the best in the world, so I'm not intimidated by any of these names. And why not? I'll go fight them all.
That's awesome. Leading into that, is there anybody that you haven't fought that you want to fight next, or are you just kind of like you said, whoever, whatever opponent they provide, as long as I'm getting paid?
Yeah, honestly, that's where I'm at. I don't have. It's not like I have rivals or anything like that. For me, man, this is strictly business and business. It's strictly financial for me. So if somebody's name come across my table and it makes sense, whether it's defending my 205 title, fighting for the CFFC 185 title, if given that opportunity, or if I get signed by a bigger organization right after this, then I'll go with that and I'll fight whoever they put in front of me. But yeah, I want those dollar signs. I want the money. I want all those things that come with that. So
Right.
that's where I'm at. Eventually, if I do sign with like a Bellator or something like that, I would love to, you know, climb my way through the ranks and fight bigger and better names. Same with, the UFC. If that's ever an option for me again, then same thing. I just want to be able to work my way up and fight for one of these major titles that, got a little bit bigger dollar signs behind it. So I would like to go to ONE FC too. That's a whole nother culture, whole nother way of life, whole different people group that, I can get to fight against some people and fight in front of people that, it'd be different for me, another place on this planet that I get to visit and, fight and have fun doing it. So yeah, I'd be down for that for sure.
Awesome. So besides fighting, you are obviously incredibly busy coaching and cornering other fighters. You're coaching at Pettis MMA currently, correct?
Correct. Yes, I am the head coach at Pettis Martial Arts. I coach the kickboxing, jiu-jitsu for both the adults and the kids.
Awesome. Tell us about some of the people in the gym that you're excited to see what the future holds for them and to mentor them in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, honestly, our gym is we don't have a fight team currently. We're like building up to the point to have like a fight team. We have an MMA for everybody program where, anybody that wants to train in MMA can. It's a great way to learn real self-defense and learn how to defend yourself and build self-confidence and character for people of all ages, not just kids, but adults as well. So for me, I like our jiu-jitsu team. Our jiu-jitsu team is really good. We have a lot of people who compete all over the place. Honestly, man, I love teaching the kids. They give me headaches, but I love our little kid group, man. We got some little studs that go and win a lot of tournaments. I also have some teenagers that will be branching into MMA here soon. They're actually wrestling their high school wrestling seasons right now. So yeah, I got a lot of young athletes. We're still very, very new. So we're building that program up, but eventually I'll have some names that, if they choose to go into fighting MMA, then that is what they'll do. But we partner with Rufus Sport as well. So like my two amateur fighters that trained underneath me, Amar Hernandez and Dex the Trader, they actually do their fight training at Rufus Sport. I just do all of their fundamental training in the separate disciplines at Pettis. So that's more of the split that we have there.
Awesome. So what message do you have for the Biggie fans for what you have coming up?
Man, I just want to say thank you. Honestly, I've been going through a lot of things in life, and that's just life, So I'm grateful for the continued support, that everyone has my back, that people continue to support me. I've been in this game now for nearly 10 years, and people have been supporting me at every walk of the way. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported me, continue to support me, and will support me in the future. I'm greatly appreciative of it all. Every like, every comment, every picture that you ask me to take, it will always and forever be my pleasure to, respond and do that with a smile on my face, because you don't have to support me, but you choose to. Same thing with my teammates and my family members and everything else. Everybody that's in my life that's just continuing to help me grow as a fighter and as a person. I'm very thankful for you guys. With that being said, a couple really, really thankful to be, in partners with sponsors is Team Rehab and TOSA. I got in a car accident a couple weeks back. They were able to, mend me up, make sure everything was firing away. And then they joined the team, and they've been a great help for me in the success of being able to finish this camp as healthy as possible and ready to put on a show. Ashburn Wrestling Academy and Funky Fresh Spring Rolls, they came at a very crucial time and sponsored me, allowed me to get another vehicle after I totaled my car to be able to finish training camp and get to work and do stuff like that. So I just want to say a big thank you to those sponsors specifically on taking care of me and helping me to make it through this fight camp.
That's awesome. Let the fans know where they can find you on social media.
You can follow me at Team Rock Biggie, TeamRock Biggie. That's Instagram and Twitter. Mike Biggie Rhodes over on Facebook. Mike Biggie Rhodes fan page as well on Facebook is where you can follow me. Check me out. Hit that follow button. I'll most likely follow back. Leave me a comment, like a picture. Hit me up. Let's chat, man. I'm active on social media, and I don't mind engaging with people. So drop me a line.
That's great. So this is first warning. Thanks a lot for the time. You know, let them know where they can find you at for or where they can watch this weekend's fight.
You can watch me this Friday, November 22nd, live on UFC Fight Pass, main event for CFFC 80. Make sure you check it out.